So we're back now. Let's have a look at how we build this model. So first thing we're going to do is just do our standard source server sync. So there's our source, there's our server, and there's our sync. And I'm going to connect these up with path objects. So we'll just go path and path. And now since we want to animate the entity, I'm going to grab the default entity or grab a model entity instance and place that right there. And so as usual, before I do any customization, I'm going to run the model, make sure it does what I expect. It's a very simple model, so there's not much to look at here. So now that I'm satisfied, I'm going to go back and add our two components. So the first component we're going to add is a status label. So I'm going to go to status label right here, and I'm going to add, so when I click that, again, it's an attached status label, so I simply add ID, and now when I run, we have an attached status label with ID. So that's the first part. Move this up just a little bit. Second part is to add an attached floor label, so we'll do that right here. Zoom that out, and let's change this to, I don't know, 5 characters per line. And then what we want to put here is ID colon, and then the curly braces specify that I want to have a semio expression. So I have that semio expression ID, and that looks like a reasonable size. And then we can go back in and change the background color if we want that to stand out a bit. So now we run, and there we have the solution for the first workshop, where we have two different displays of the same information, which is the ID of the entity. Now the challenge part is to use a dynamic label with this text. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go back to the model that we just created and show us a little shortcut here. I could create a new model and just build this from scratch, but what I really want to do is take this current model, copy it, create another version of this so that I can create the enhanced version. So to do that, I'm going to go to my Semio project. I'm going to go to model. I'm going to do the Control C for copy to the clipboard and Control V to paste from the clipboard. And so note that now we have model, and then we have model 1. If I wanted, I could rename that to enhance model, but I'm not going to do that. I'll leave that to you. And so the task at hand here is to go to default entity. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Choose my default entity, animation, and we want to have dynamic animation text, and the text we want is ID plus string from real, and the value that we want is entity ID. And click OK, or click the yes. And now when I run, now I have 3 pieces of information, or 3 displays of the same piece of information. And so in the challenge, you'll note one thing to do was to zoom way out. And so when we do that, you see immediately that the dynamic text lets us see the values, so in the correct size for viewing. Whereas when I use the floor labels and status labels, they scale with the model view, and so the dynamic label gives us a way that we can view the results or see the actual expression that we're animating, regardless of where we are in the model, whether we're in 2D or 3D. It's always visible. So that concludes this workshop.